Hey friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Friday Fart Bags on a Friday. Fart, fart, fart. We're gonna see if lube is a good idea on Tiny Whoop motors today. This is also a Q&A live stream, as they all are. Drop any questions that you've got in the chat, and we'll talk about them. And we're also going to do, of course, our 6 batteries every day. And mailbag. I got a whole bunch of stuff that's been showing up. Some return-related stuff, some new stuff, some Whoop stuff, some mainly Whoop stuff. Greetings, cretins! How's everybody doing? My hair is shorter. Congratulations to my hair. Whoop lube everywhere, Brent Anderson says. In the chat, Frank Nicholas was first, Troy Prelog was next, Bob Bruce, Simo23, Anonymous, Northern Tier, Bobby Bags, Rock Crawler, Douglas Otwell, Simon again, One Arm RC, Scott FPV, Great Scott, Beep Tube, FP Avery, and Brent Anderson. What's up, friends? Thanks for coming. Different time. It might be a little bit of a light turnout today. It's early in the day. West Coast is still at work. Christ, damn near everyone's still at work. Everyone other than East Coast is still at work. Maggie and I are going to our friend Eileen's play tonight. She's an actress, and that starts at 7:30, and it takes us about a half an hour to get there. So at 6:59, this shit show is going to end. I'm going to get out of here so I can get on the road. So yeah, we're doing 5 to 7 Eastern tonight. You know, sometimes you got to just shit your pants. Sorry I missed you guys Wednesday. I got a call or a text on Wednesday letting me know from my ex, letting me know that my old cat Harry had passed away, and it hit me really hard. It hit me like a ton of bricks, man. OG folks here will know the story of Harry and know how hard it was. He was the first cat that I'd gotten as like a full-on kitten, like kitten, like bad kitten. And he was bad. He was a bad cat. Some cats are good, generally. Some cats are just generally bad, and he was a bad one. Bad is a hard word, but yeah, basically in reading up on it, cats from like birth to I think it's 3 weeks, or it might be 3 months, but like the first few weeks or few months of their lives, if they're out in the wild and not introduced to human beings, they're going to be a bad cat, basically. You can tame them and domesticate them, but they're always going to be feral as shit, and they're just nuts. If you get a cat in front of people, soon after it's born, usually they're going to be a lot more comfortable around people and a lot less bad. And Harry was a rescue, and he grew up in the woods. I got him when he was still very small, but he'd lived in the woods right up until the point, and he just kind of lived in the woods for a little bit too long. And he was nuts. He was absolutely nuts. It was like living with a full-blown wild animal. And in his like teenage years, 6 months to a year to 2 years, there was one specific point where I remember very vividly thinking, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I had Googled everything. I'd tried everything. I'd had cats all my life. I'd had good cats, bad cats, but man, he was something else. And, but I just loved the shit out of him and stuck with it. And he came around, and he wasn't like, he was just too clawy. And, like, he would just go way too hard, and, like, you would just be walking by minding your own business, and he would just nail you, and, like, blood, and it was a lot, man. But eventually he did calm down, and then he got really sick. I moved here to Atlanta, and he got really, really sick. Started losing lots of weight. And vet visit. You know, vets' jobs are very hard. They can't ask their patients, like, hey, what's going on? And so they have to, they go from like most common occurrences to least common occurrences. And Harry had some form of like pancreatitis, basically. So he was eating and eating and eating, but he wasn't getting anything out of the food. And it took the vet a while to figure that out. And they were pretty sure that he had eaten something. They did an x-ray eventually, which cost a fortune. And they thought that they saw something in his stomach, and all the symptoms pointed to, he ate something non-digestible. And so I paid for surgery, which was like $3,000. And he came out of surgery, and they were like, sorry, we didn't find anything in there. But the next thing that they thought was pancreatitis, and that's what it ended up being. So, I had to watch like my little baby boy, come out of and he's just the whole time he's getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier because he's not getting any nutrients out of his food. And he comes out of therapy and therapy is really stressful, and he still wasn't getting much nutrients. He got a bunch of nutrients out of the IV and that stuff, but as soon as we had to put him back on food again, he wasn't getting, and there was just a point where it was just kind of so that at this point they hadn't figured out pancreatitis yet, and it was looking like he wasn't going to make it. And it was super hard. There were like 3 days that I was up 24/7, but we figured it out just in time. Put him on special food, special medication, and he made like a kind of there were a couple of points there in that 3-day period where it was I was saying goodbye, and it felt like he was saying goodbye too, and it was just heartbreaking. But then there was this point where we put him on the medicine, all this stuff. Actually, get the vet actually like under the table was like, hey, one of our other vet techs had really good luck with CBD THC serum created for dogs. It's not something that we really like do here, but we all love Harry, and we wanted to know if you wanted to try it. And so we tried it right on top of like that 3-day period. And I don't know, maybe it was one of the things that helped him kind of turn around, because like he just kind of lost his will to live. Like it's apparently very painful. And THC and CBD are apparently very good at pain relief. And so towards the end of this crazy 3-day period, for like the first time in weeks, the pain must have subsided, and like he did that little cat thing where like he rubbed against my ankle and like kind of just looked up at me and just didn't look like he was saying goodbye anymore. And that was it. Like from that moment, that started his recovery. And yeah, he came back. I mean, the vet told me like, hey, cats with this don't live normal lives. They don't live long lives, and they don't live normal lives. You have to understand that. And the surgery and everything else, like, I had said no to that because it was too expensive. But yeah, his other parent basically said to me that it couldn't live without him, and I said, okay, I guess I'm paying for surgery. And I'm glad that it went down that way. I'm glad that he made it, and I got another couple of years with him. I lost Harry in the divorce. Didn't really lose Harry. It was a decision that we made together. And so I haven't seen him in a while, but I was confident that he was going to have a good life, and I'm sure that he did. I'm sure that after his time with me, he continued to have a really good life. But yeah, just like the vet said, it's a nasty disease, and yeah, he died on Monday. And my Facebook, my favorite thing about Facebook, hands down, is the memories part of it. I wish that it used to like throw memories right in your face every single time you logged on. Now you got to click the button. I mean, it's whatever, but and like, I haven't lived with Harry for a little over a year, I guess. And when I was living alone in the apartment, he was with me the majority of that time. And when I was having a really, 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 really hard time, he was there, and thank God that he was. I really needed that. And but yeah, I haven't lived with him for a year and a half, I guess, about. But Facebook memories would put pictures of him in front of me. every couple days that I actually do go on Facebook once a week, maybe at this point. And I love that. I you know, all these memories, this harrowing experience with him getting sick, the chaos of him as a kitten, it was all there. And I think that's a part of the reason that, like, when I was just a puddle of mush on Wednesday. I felt like somebody just yanked the rug out from under me, and I just could not function. I was just so hurt, and like just the sense of loss of losing, you know, a best friend, basically. And so, yeah, I just couldn't get it together. I thought for sure, I found out pretty early on Wednesday. I thought for sure I'd have it together for the stream, but I just didn't. I was just completely worthless all afternoon. Yesterday was better, and today I'm feeling a lot better. But yeah, hug your pets a little tighter today, because man, when they go, it's never any less brutal. You know, like, no matter how many animals I have and or see go over that rainbow bridge, it's never any less difficult. And you know, the pain in the ass ones, you invest so much more in, and that just like makes it hurt even more, you know. So this was it's been a tough couple days, but yeah, he was a good dude, and if he'd been in the wild, he wouldn't have made it past like a year and a half, you know, and he ended up living 4 years, 5 years maybe, which ain't bad, you know, and he lived in an awesome apartment. He had great parents, and yeah, he had a good life. So could be worse, could be way worse. And now there's this shitbird running around. Teddy, what are you doing? Get off of there. Get off of that blanket. Get over here, you mangy mutt. Come here. Come here so I can shake you. This is your toy. That's all it takes. That's absolutely all it takes. Look at his fancy little scarf. The doggy and I have matching scarves that Maggie made for us. Look at that. Look at that. He actually doesn't mind it. He doesn't shred it and destroy it. Man, I wish I could have had Harry with this guy. Harry would have smacked this guy right into shape. He would have whapped him in the face, and then Teddy would have been like, "Oh shit, I better act right." All right, go ahead, buddy. No, we're not playing with a toy. Sorry. So yeah, that was my Wednesday. AJ Farrer with the $2 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, "Rest in peace, Harry, you bad motherfucker." He was, man. He was a bad boy, but goddamn, I loved him, and he really did turn around, man. He was always a very feral dude. Like, you would, like, if he was turned away from you and you like, he would always like jump. Like, he never calmed down. He was like forever this wild animal of just like looking for shit, looking for mice to eat. Went to chase the drift cars. So, Pyro Drone. Now, wait for mailbag for that. Chased some RC drift cars last night and broke another one of these Weebleed V1 prototype ducts that Zotek told me not even to run. This was a plastic, a really hard, really stiff plastic material that he was experimenting with, and he did not have good luck with early days of the crown frame. And literally, like, as the first set of prototype frames showed up at my house, I had a message from him like, "Hey man, there's 2 different diameters of plastic in there. The one that's really stiff, don't run it. It's just going to break immediately." I held on to it because I'm a hoarder, and I decided to use it on this Walksnail Fractal cinematic 65mm build because of how stiff it was. What I thought was, well, this is a cinematic rig. It's not going to take big crashes. The extra stiffness, I was thinking when I bump into the RC cars, it would be stiff enough that I could bump and then bounce off without the duct collapsing and stopping the propellers. And I think maybe it did do that, but this is the second one that's broke in just like a couple of batteries. It's just too fragile. It's just too brittle. So I'm not going to really show this. We're going to work through the chat and we're just going to talk. But below the camera here, I'm going to be putting on a set of version 1 prototype ducts from Newbie Drone. This is a plastic that's not nearly as brittle as this, so I think that this plastic will be I know that this plastic will be a little bit more resistant to breaking. It might still break, but we'll see. The duct design, I'm actually going to do a live stream maybe on Sunday, really just diving into the differences between all of these Tiny Whoop frames, and just head to head comparing them, comparing the Crown to the Meteor 65 Air to the regular Meteor 65 to the Cockroach 65 V3. So yeah, get subscribed, get ready for that. Sunday 3 o'clock is probably going to be where we kind of dive into that. I know I've talked about it here and there, but I want like a thumbnail and a searchable stream title surrounding that. And yeah, we're going to really jump in there. So that's what I'm going to be doing here below the camera, is swapping these ducts out, just so that you don't think I'm fondling myself or anything weird. So yeah, there's that. In the chat, if you want to talk directly to me, all you've got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do that, it'll highlight itself in orange. I'll show you what that looks like in 1 second. It looks like this. And when you do that, I know that you want me to read your comment, so I will. Bob Bruce says, what's up, everyone? CiottiFPV, man, this is early for me. Hopefully I can tune in. Bobby Bag says, where's the lube? Rock Crawler says, hey all, and CiottiFPV. Here's the lube. This is, this is like a mountain bike lube. I'm sorry, this is not. This is a skateboard bearing lube. The reason I'm using this lube is that it came with this really fine tipped applicator nozzle here. The viscosity of this lube is almost identical. I mean, it is identical as far as I can tell to the Tiny Whoop motor oil. So yeah, if you don't have some thin-ish oil, lube, whatever you want to call it, handy, feel free to get the Tiny Whoop stuff. I doubt that 100 hours of testing went into the to the Tiny Whoop lube, right? Like I'm assuming that Jesse tried a few different types and decided that, you know, it needed to be somewhat thin. He had sent, when his motor oil first came out, he'd sent me a bottle, and I tried it and I compared it to this stuff, and it seemed to be pretty much identical. It's bearing lube, you know. This is skateboard bearing lube. And so if I were Jesse and I was going to make bushing lube, I would just get bearing lube and run that, because, you know, similar kind of use case. So yeah, if you've got something, feel free to use that. If you don't, the Tiny Whoop motor lube is a great thing, and you're supporting Jesse, and it's got a cool label on it, so go for it. Today we are going to see if we can bring a really beat to hell set of motors back to life with this lube. I have always said that, in my opinion, you should not really use the lube on motors, mainly because it's going to fling everywhere. Like, our motors turn really high RPM, and what I've found is when you use the lube, even if you try to use just a little bit of it, it gets flung all over the damn place, and it really makes a mess, because once it's all over the place, then dirt sticks to it. So it's like, if you've got a brand new set of motors and then you oil them, they're going to get really dirty really fast. So I've found it's better to leave motors alone, and then like when they're starting to really suffer and you were kind of maybe thinking about throwing them away anyway, that's the perfect time to throw some lube in there. And what I've found is that it just extends the life of the motors a little bit. Motors that you were gonna throw away anyway, now all of a sudden you can get another 100 batteries out of, or even if it's one extra battery, it's, hey, you know, you put a little bit of oil in there, all is right with the world, away we go. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. I am trying to figure out right now. So a little tip for you, if you're going to do a Fractal build, the screw holes in the Fractal frame are they're kind of angled a little bit strange. They're not like equal. It's not just like this is the arm and then the screws are like this. They're kind of cocked off to the side a little bit. So when you do your Fractal builds, there is like a right duct for each spot. So just now you know that. So when you're putting your ducts onto the Fractal build, just put the duct on like this, and then just kind of look at it. And the main thing that I look for is that a certain part of the duct comes really close to the AIO, and then up in the front there's a part of the duct that comes really close to the camera. Just look at it and see which orientation is not going to touch either one of those things. Also, there's an orientation where you can hide the ugly parts of the duct where you've cut it out, and in my case, grinded it out a little bit with a rotary tool. So yeah, just in my opinion, pay attention to that. You might not care, which is fine, but yeah, it'll look a little bit better. I like the idea also that the outside of the duct is a little bit smoother so that it doesn't catch on anything. So yeah, just kind of play around with that on your Fractal builds, and you can get the perfect duct on each side. And like once you figure one of them out, the rest of them are kind of easy. Like if you get one duct right, I think the way that it works is there are two. Well, let's see. So let me just line these up. So this is not the same. So that's not the same. All right, so these two ducts are not the same. I think there's basically two ducts. Every other duct will be the same. Yep. So these two ducts are the same. It's all about like where you snip the battery tray and the connector pieces between the hoops. So yeah, these two are exactly the same, and then obviously these two are going to be exactly the same. But like once you cut them out, you can just put them next to each other, and you'll see it's very obvious. Why is this? Oh no, yep, there it is. Well, no, that's interesting. What? How is there one odd duct out? What? That's... What? Hold on. That's super weird. Okay. There and there. Okay, yeah. All right, so these are not the same. Okay, these are definitely not the same. What about this one and this one? There is a chance that all four of them are different. And one frame could have all four of them be different, and another frame could have all four of them not be different. These are ducts that I cut off of the Newbie Drone Cockroach, and it looks like all four are slightly different. Very, very slightly different. But, yeah, inside, outside... Yeah, so all four of these are very subtly different. Interesting. And I don't know which ones I put on this frame so far. So I got to redo this. But not the end of the world. You can just slap them on and not think about it. That's fine. It's no big deal. But I don't know. am a crazy person, so I like to have things be absolutely perfect. As perfect as possible. Denzel the Terrible says, hello, CiottiFPV and gangly ones. Northern Tier says, my thoughts are with you, man. Been there. It sucks. Does indeed. Dennis Matovich says, my Mobula 7 came with very noisy / screeching motors. Happy model 0802, 20,000 kV with bi-blades on them. Do you think oil will help quiet them down? It might, but then you're going to fling oil all over the place, which is going to attract dirt, and it's going to get really bad. So, do one of two things. Either return it and say, hey, you need to send me one that doesn't have horrible sounding motors, or my real recommendation is going to be to throw those motors in the river. 20,000 kV is just useless. It's a little bit less useless on 75mm rigs like what you've got there, but there's a huge performance benefit to be had for you going up higher in kV. If you want to go to a bigger motor, with more kV, you could get the Rotor Riot Dime 1002 24,000 kV motors. It's going to add weight to the rig, but it's also going to add a significant amount of thrust and grunt from that being a bigger motor. Ideally, my favorite motors on a 75mm rig are the iGal and Snowblower Special Edition TinyWhoop.com 0802s with the 1.5mm motor shaft. So, yeah. There are your options. I would not... But, like, yeah. Whoever you bought that rig from, tell them they need to see... If you're interested in staying with those motors, I did not have good luck with those motors, though, for the record. They started dropping bells on the motor shafts really, really early. Yeah, if you're going to stick with those motors, return that shit, man. It's not your responsibility to fix stuff right out of the box. These companies need to send us stuff that works, and if they don't, it's on them. Like, we have this unbelievable Stockholm Syndrome when it comes to, like, stuff being broken, and it makes sense, right? Because we break lots of stuff. So, like, it totally makes sense why we do that, and why you're thinking the way that you're thinking. But it's not your responsibility. It's you know, that is a new product, and you have not destroyed it yet. You will, as we all will, but you haven't yet. And so don't start with something that's pre-destroyed. You know, you need to be the one that destroys it, not whatever, the manufacturer, or whatever you want to say at that point. So yeah, either return it or just get rid of those motors. Those motors are okay. What I actually really like about those motors is they do have 1.5mm motor shafts, which is great. Like, bravo, happy model. Unfortunately, they're way too low of a kV for bi-blades. And then if you put tri-blades on them, they are not a big enough stator to handle tri-blades. If you want to run tri-blades, you got to step it up to a 1002 or an 803 or maybe even a 703. Although I have not I've not tried that, so I don't know. I think that a 703 will work. I don't even know who makes... I feel like there is a 703 somewhere out there, but don't quote me on that, because I'm not totally sure. So there you go, man. There's my answer. Fly High FPV. You got to put FPV after Ciotti, at CiottiFPV, or it won't highlight orange. I just happened to see it, though. Fly High says, T-Motor just told me they're releasing 0802 27,000 kV. Sound interesting? If it has a 1.5mm motor shaft, which it won't, absolutely. Without a 1.5mm motor shaft, I have no interest. 27,000 kV is not high enough for 65mm rigs that are for freestyle. For racing, sure. I think the racers are still running 26,000-ish kV motors for the extra runtime and the extra throttle resolution. That's great for them. But for freestyle, 27,000 is just nowhere near enough. On a 65mm rig, those motors would be great. On a 75mm rig, if they had a 1.5mm motor shaft, they won't, and so they aren't. Unless you've got a pilot that's not going to crash. But come on, it's a tiny whoop. Crash it. It's the most fun thing ever. I mean, just FPV in general. The fact that we can crash all day, every day, and we don't die, and, you know, cheap to repair. You can repair it in the comfort of your own home, not in the garage, not with bleeding knuckles, shit like that. Like, take advantage of all of the things that make crashing absolutely hysterical in FPV, and your life will be that much better. That's a bit much, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, not personally, not really interested in those unless they have the 1.5mm rotor shaft. If they do, then that's amazing. But I really doubt that T-Motor is in tune enough with the Tiny Whoop community to do the 1.5mm motor shaft. I certainly hope that they do, because that would then be... I mean, sorry, Jesse, but that would be the perfect motor for freestyle 75mm rigs. Just mainly because they would make a ton of them, and they would, like, be in stock. I absolutely love the iGao and snowblowers, but they're just kind of never in stock. So it's hard to love something that you can't get, right? Fly High confirms 1mm shaft. So yeah, I don't have any interest in them, but maybe the racers will, as long as they're lightweight. You know, a while ago, man, like when T-Motor first came out with the 803s, they sent me a set of prototypes and they asked me for recommendations on KV, and I told them all of this stuff, and I really spent a bunch of time breaking this all down for them and explaining the different KVs, and they just haven't listened yet. Or they just don't care about freestyle tiny whoops, which is probably the case, because who the hell... I mean, lots of us do, but racing is just so much more popular, so in theory, they're just listening to the racers. You know, fair game to them. If I were them, I probably would too. You know, we live in a world of very, very low production number products. So for a manufacturer, they sort of have to pay the most attention to whoever the biggest community is behind their products, and kind of go with them. And so, yeah, a lot of times that's with all sizes, right? Like, racing is a much bigger part of the population. So they're kind of always going to get a little bit more love than us. And that's okay. We can continue to use their whatever they don't want, basically, right, is sort of what's happening. That's not the end of the world. All right, I'm going to put this duct on here. I think this is the right one. So I'm using these Cockroach 65 ducts, and I have to use... I took their... so because we're mounting it to a carbon fiber frame with the Fractal build here, I actually had to take their carbon fiber brace and cut the little mounting pads off of it, because the bottoms of their motors are pocketed, and it just would not have worked properly. So if you want to run Cockroach 65 V3 ducts on your Fractal builds, you're gonna have to buy the carbon fiber brace in addition to the frame itself, so that you can then cut off these little carbon fiber pads. You know, I don't know if anybody is ever actually going to do that. This is an incredibly specific thing that I'm doing right here. But hey, if you do, now you know. It truly won't work without the carbon fiber pads. When you cinch the screws down, it's gonna pull the... just trust me. It just won't work. It's just not something that's gonna jive. So yeah, if you're gonna do this exact same build, you're gonna need to do that, and it's super easy. You're gonna use a rotary tool, or you could even use like a file or something. You'll be able to do it. If you're into FPV, you'll be able to handle this. So let me just get this lined up here. What else is happening in chat? Dennis says, "Cool, I like upgrading. Awesome." That's the right way to go. And I think you'll dig those. I hope. I am going to be testing those dime motors soon enough. So if you want to wait for me to test them, you can. I mean, I'm pretty confident that they'll be fine. At the moment, the 1002s that I know of that are higher KV, that I know to be good, are the Flywoo. They're on GetFPV. Flywoo 1002 23,500 kV. That is the known quantity. What I like about the dimes is they're a little bit higher KV. It's only 500 extra KV, but maybe the Flywoo motors are overrated, and they're actually slightly lower than 23,500 kV. Maybe the dimes are underrated, and they're actually more than 24,000 kV. That would be ideal. Worst case scenario, the dimes are lower than they're rated and the Flywoos are higher than they're rated, and at that point they would pretty much be the exact same KV. So getting the dimes is just makes more sense because they have the higher KV. Yes, you're taking a little bit of a risk because I don't know anybody that's really tested them yet. I'm sure Rotor Riot has, but you know, it's a little bit of a risk there, but hey. Hello, family! So yeah, there you go, brother. I will say this. When the iGal motors come back in, or the snowblowers come back in, pick up a set of them. They're cheap, right? It's like $40, and they're just phenomenal. The 1002s are great, don't get me wrong, but the 802, 25, and 27,000s are outrageous. They really wake up a 75 millimeter rig without weighing it down. The 1002s, you can definitely feel the extra weight that they add. They're grunty bastards, so you can run a tri-blade for a bunch of power, you can run a bi-blade for crazy efficiency, and still good power. But yeah, with the 802s, it's significantly lighter, and you get more KV, so you actually get more power out of the 802s. They're just great. It's really such a shame that Happy Model did not wind the 802s that they put on that Mobula 7 ELRS with a higher KV, because it's just such a waste, man. There's just no reason for them to not wind them a higher KV and then just put motor limiting on, and just don't tell anyone. Just put the motor limiting on and don't say anything. Like, the novices won't notice it, and they won't know to change it, and all will be right with the world. Those of us that know what's what will change it, and we'll have a rig that we can grow with and live with for longer, and we won't have to spend another $40+ on motors. Super, super, super frustrating that these companies are just not getting it. They're just not understanding that they can put out a product that is so much better and so much more future-proofed and flyable, and but they just don't, and I just don't, I don't get it. I don't get where the disconnect is. Do they not have any pilots that work for them? Not one? Or like, are the only pilots that work there they're brand new pilots, or they just don't know anything? Like, what is going on? Like, why is it like this? Does anybody know? Does anybody understand what the hell's going on over there? Like, it's really very, very strange. And it doesn't cost them anything to wind these motors in a higher KV, right? And like, Happy Model, you know, I guess you could say like, oh, well, they're doing that so that you have to then buy their upgrade motors. Well, no, well, I guess maybe, but like Happy Model doesn't have motors that are a higher kV with a one, like you have to then go to Tiny Whoop, and I mean the Tiny Whoop motors are made by Happy Model, so like maybe that's what they're doing, but it's just so frustrating. It's just so annoying. Like, it's so rare that there's a bind and fly that like has been thought out. You know, like it always feels like they designed it on the computer and then just pushed it out the door. It just constantly feels like they did not have someone put more than a half a battery through it. And that's just the stupidest thing ever. Like, you're about to make hundreds of these, if not thousands. Have somebody put 100 batteries through it, dude. What are you doing? Send them out to a bunch of us and we'll do it for you for free. Like, what are you doing? Come on. Get your shit together. Damn it. I wanted to remember to plug in and pull the footage off of this while I had this motor number 4 ducked off, but I forgot. One of the most, maybe the most annoying thing about these Fractal builds with Walksnail is that the little port that you need to use for Walksnail is completely and utterly obscured. There's just, like, you have to pull a duct off every single time that you want to pull footage off, which is just insane, but hey. Welcome to FPV. This is probably one of the least insane things in FPV. The hobby where if you're not crazy, you fucking will be soon, because it's gonna drive you completely mad. That's not the right USB plug. That one is. Alright, so let's get this thing plugged in. We'll pull this footage off of it. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, no, Sunday at 1 o'clock, there's a big event at the RC Drift place. And they invited me, of course. And so I'm going to go and fly a little bit. And yeah, I'm participating in absolutely everything I possibly can with them within reason, because I want to figure out a way to do it more. I want there to be a big RC drift competition that they fly me out to film and fly. And one of the ways to do that is to be like the guy, you know, like I've never seen anyone else do this before, so I'm gonna just do my damnedest to be like the guy. And so there's that. Shit, I forgot that this is gonna take forever. Gangly fan time, my friends! Let's get it fired up. God damn it, where's that 3S barrel plug battery? There it is. All right, here we go. It'll work with a regular 2S goggle battery, but the 3S's work a little bit better. Plugging it in here, flipping it on, and I will put this Walksnail rig right on top to keep it nice and cool. What? Why'd the device? Oh, because I moved it and it unplugged. That sucks. Hold on. Okay, and all right, it's back. Wait, is that it? DCIM? Yep, Wengelborg, got it. Okay, there we go. Was this thing spinning back? Is it pulling air down? I think it's pulling air down. I thought it pushed air out the top. Oh, that's copying quick now. Hold on. Let me put something in front of it. Oh yeah, it's pulling air down from the top. Oh yeah, look at that. I kind of like that because that's pulling air down over the Walksnail VTX. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that about it. And that was pretty quick, man. That copied them with the quickness. I just copied the wrong files, though. Those are not the right files. Get them out of here. Empty trash. This is Untitled that I want to pull from. Yeah, there we go. Avatar S. The S. So Walksnail names their files S and G. The S, I don't know what the S stands for, but the S is the onboard recording, and then the G is the goggle recording. G for goggles, S for SAC? I don't know what the S stands for. But yeah, Dennis Matovich also says, don't laugh, I'm still flying a UR65 with 0603 17,000 kV motors. I actually really like 0603s. This freestyle Walksnail rig is on 0603s. They're 30,000 kV though. They're prototype motors from Jesse. Yeah, 603 is actually a fantastic motor size. It just needs to be a high enough kV. Those 603 17,000 kV motors are probably excruciating. Just because they don't have enough RPM. But throw quad blades on them, that'll be as much as you can do. Fly High FPV says 1mm shafts, 1.78 grams. That is pretty light. Freelojo says there'd be a lot of 32,500 Screamers that have been adopted. Yeah, the Screamers are a fantastic motor. Danzilla Terrible says, see Black Horse's question. Black Horse says, put the duct below the frame. So putting the duct below the frame would also require me to put the motor below the frame, and I guess technically it would clear. Maybe? I don't know if the battery would fit in between the ducts. I personally don't love pusher rigs. Oh, it's done. Awesome. And let's delete these files. Make sure they're there. Yep, they're there. Let's delete them. And then... Alright, cool. So now this rig will record onboard. The onboard recording, the reason why that's important is the onboard recording with Walksnail is 1080p 60 frames a second. Because it's basically coming right out of the camera. The footage that it transmits to the goggles is either 1080-30 or 720-60. I'm assuming that it's a... I'm assuming that it is a bandwidth issue, right? 1080-60 is an awful lot of ones and zeros to try to send over the air. So yeah, the onboard DVR files are awesome. If the onboard files are 1080-60 if you have enough light. If you're flying in low light, it will dump the shutter speed all the way down to 1/30th of a second. And at 1/30th of a second, if it was running at 60 frames a second, each frame, the two frames next to each other would be identical. Because the shutter is only opening 1/30th of a second. The shutter is only opening 30 times per second. So yeah, you have to have enough light, unfortunately, at in the afternoon. I'm excited about tomorrow because it's going to be 1 o'clock that this event starts. I'm sorry, Sunday. The event starts... People are starting to show up at 12, so there's going to be cars out there for me to chase at 12. But then... the event starts at 1, and I'm excited about that because the sun will still be out and it'll be dumping nice light into the where the racetrack is, I think. And so yeah, the onboard footage should be 1080-60 rather than every time I've been there lately, it's been 1080-30, and it's really struggled. There's been these like kind of ugly horizontal lines in the footage because it's just dying for light, and it's just doing anything that it possibly can to and it's just overdriving the sensor and probably pushing the the ISO really high, although I think I might have limited the ISO in the settings. Maybe not. I don't know. All right. So yeah. Black Horse had said put the duct below the frame. Yeah, that I don't really like pushers, and although there's a chance that it would work, the battery would be a really tight fit, but there is a chance that it would work. I really prefer regular style puller rigs. I don't like the propellers being so close to the ground so that you can turtle mode it back over, but what's interesting is I'd never thought about doing that on these Fractal builds, but I think it would be extremely ugly, but who gives a rat's ass about that? It's actually an interesting idea. I might play around. Somebody remind me of that in the future, and we'll test it. I'm not going to test it today because I got to get out of here exactly. It's 7, and it's already 5:59. Holy hell. Yeah, I will test that because I can do that test with 12 screws. So we'll do some efficiency tests. If that will get me more efficiency from these little Walksnail 65 mil from this Walksnail 65 mil build, I will do it. Because the efficiency is the biggest problem that I have with this build right now. I get runtime of 2 minutes, which I'm kind of surprised that it actually gets to 2 minutes. But man, all the other rigs will get 3.5 minutes. The analog rigs, and like I'm spoiled by that, and I'm used to that. I'm really used to being able to get over 3 minutes, even the 32,500 kV rigs. So yeah, I would really like to get a little bit more efficiency out of this thing, because I just burn through batteries, man. 2 minute run times, I just blast through the 12 or so batteries that I've got. Michael Blade says, happy Fun Day Friday. Friday Fun Day. Simon says, it's sky and ground. Oh, nice. Good call. Yeah, S for sky and G for ground, not G for goggles. Very cool. Black Horse says, I mean duct frame motor, so the carbon sits on the flat part of the frame. I've tried that before, and it hits the motor. But I've not tried it with this specific duct, so let's try it real quick. Because if that actually works, it would bring the duct even further down, and it would actually allow me to not use the little carbon fiber piece, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, okay. So the other reason why it doesn't work is because Fractal, they don't drill the motor mount holes normal. Like when you look at it like this, right? You would think that they would put a hole, and a hole, right? But they don't. They put a hole over here, another hole over here, and then another hole like this. So because of that, it just doesn't work. The supports from the ducts hit the carbon. That's a shame, because that would be pretty cool. I wonder if the crown ducts, which were designed by Yves from Fractal, I wonder if they will do it. They will not. One would think. Well, nope. They will not. Well, maybe. Let's see. Ooh, they will. They will. If you mount it in this specific orientation right here, they will. That's pretty interesting. Let's see. What that's going to do, though, is that's going to really pull the duct down. I wonder if the propeller will then be higher than the than the guard part of the duct. Let's take a look. Let's sink that down in there. No, it actually, like, I feel like this might be what the crown frame was made to do. Because all of a sudden, the duct runs damn near perfectly around. The end of the propeller is now finally lined up with the duct. Once I get my hands on a crown frame that's not prototype, all the ones that I have are super duper prototype right now. Yeah, once I get my hands on a production crown frame, I'm going to try that because that's pretty cool. And I suspect that the production crown duct cut out like this will be lighter weight than the Cockroach 65 V3 duct with the little extra piece of carbon that you need. But yeah, like I said, I don't have a crown frame that's remotely fresh. I have one that's beat to absolute death that I'm not going to cut up and put on here. And then this one, these are the prototype ducts that are just cracking all over the place. I can probably just break this one. No, it's actually pretty stiff. I guess it's the sharp collisions that you get when you're actually flying that kill these guys. Good call, dude. Very cool. I tried that with the Meteor ducts, and they have a ton of these little standoffs, so it definitely won't work with these. Literally, the way that the crown supports are, there's one support, and then the two bottom supports, instead of being like 120 degrees, the two bottom supports are pulled like this a lot. And it almost feels like that was specifically done to get them to clear the standoffs. I doubt that that's the case, but that would be pretty interesting if that's the reason that those standoffs are pulled down like that. Pretty neat. That'll be cool. Good call. Good call on that one. But all that being said, I do also want to test this as a pusher, just because I'm desperate for not desperate, but I really want more efficiency and runtime. And Ryan Harrell did a bunch of testing with the Fraybot frame and found that the pusher configuration, contrary to all aerodynamic theory and like aeronautical research, was actually more efficient as a pusher. Significantly more efficient too, like 20% more efficient. And I would love 20% more runtime on one of these guys. So, yeah. Somebody remind me that in the future, because I will forget. I might not forget, because I do want to try the... I will be changing these ducts again to the crown ducts for sure, once I can get one of the finished frames, one of the production frames, I should say, instead of these prototype ones that I've got. So, yeah, very cool. The magic of live streams right there. Great ideas from awesome people that we try, and sometimes they work. And then we can build on them together as a little community. Speaking of community, it's a great show. It's one of my favorites. No, over on Discord is where we all kind of hang out. You can join the Discord for nothing by hopping over to CiottiFPV.com, or you can get full Discord access to the Patreon specific channels by joining the Patreon as well for as little as $3 a month. That is 7.5 cents per hour of live streaming content. You can't tell me that the last hour and 7 minutes weren't worth 8 cents. You hard up bastard. I'm just kidding. Everything that you guys do to support me is super appreciated. Clicking the thumbs up, subscribing, all that good stuff. It all makes a huge difference. I appreciate it so much. You guys are awesome. You've, each and every one of you, whatever you've done, hanging out, thumbs up, subscribing, all that shit. it has all been the only reason that I've been able to continue to do this as a full-time job, and I'm so appreciative of that. So keep it up. You guys are beautiful. But if you have an extra couple of dollars and you want to support the Gangly Man and get a bunch of benefits while you're at it, Patreon really does help me out the most. There are tiers that you can join that'll get you into giveaways. It's a good time to do that because my 12 hours of Christmas stream is going to have a whole bunch of giveaways, maybe 12 giveaways. I haven't completely decided yet on how that's going to work. But yeah, it's a good time to hop onto the Patreon. You're going to get access to a YouTube playlist with 90 unreleased videos, sketchy flying that I don't want to be public, half-done edits that I've asked you guys for some opinions on, Patreon-only live streams that we've done, a bunch of really good stuff there. You're going to get full access to the Discord channel, and if you join the $5 or up a month tier, you're going to get entered into giveaways each and every month on the first Monday. So yeah. Do it, yo! Over on CiottiFPV.com, there's a whole bunch of other ways that you can support me. Buy yourself something nice on my Etsy store, my Teespring page. Work one-on-one with me through Fiverr, or just message me and we'll schedule it out. I can help you fly better on the simulator together. I can help you build better or tune better through Skype sessions. And there's a whole bunch of affiliate links over there as well. If you're buying something on the internet, someone has an affiliate link to that website. See if you can find it real quick before you check out. And we'll keep making content for you to watch for free here on YouTube. Help us out by helping you out, by helping us out. Help me help you. Denzel the Terrible, we got that. Denzel the Terrible says, not pusher, just duct attached to the bottom of the carbon fiber frame. Dennis Matovich says, do you think those Tiny Whoop LEDs would help add light on your chase quad? Probably not. The main problem with running a light source on a drone is that we change the distance that we are from our subject constantly. And with lighting, so some of you might not know this, but I have a pretty decent background in lighting from still photography and from having a degree in TV radio. And so light operates under the inverse square law, which basically says that when you double the distance, it doesn't double the amount of light, it squares the amount of light. So changing distance when it comes to light, here's a perfect example of it. Look how, I only moved this far, but look at the difference in light on my face. Like the light falls off very, very, very quickly, and it gets worse the closer you get. Like if I continue to get closer, I can't stay in frame but get close enough. But yeah, like when you get really close, a light becomes really bright, and then if you back off just a little bit, Teddy, come on, man, please. Yeah, light falls off like crazy. It falls off at square root and cubed or squared math rather than multiples. So double the distance does not have the light, it quarters the light, I guess it would be. Because, think of like field of view, right? Like you've got this much light here. Well, so think of a cube here, a cube that's this big. And then if you double the distance, it's not 2 of those cubes, it's 4 of those cubes, right? So there's a quarter as much light. So putting a headlight on this thing, there'd be like, at this far, it would actually work. When I got to this point, it would be way too bright. When I got to that point, it wouldn't work at all. So mounting light sources on drones is something that many have tried, and they really quickly realized that like it's just too variable because of the fact that we're constantly changing the distance that we are from our subject. So yeah, unfortunately that wouldn't really help. June Loco says, will you be building a 1S Walksnail whoop? You mean like this one? Or do you mean like this one? Or do you mean like this one? Or how about... Where's the other one? The other one's in a bag somewhere. I have 4 now. The 4th one... So I've got a freestyle 65 mil and a cinematic 65 mil. And then I've got a cinematic 75 millimeter, and the freestyle 75 millimeter is waiting for the AIO to come back. Actually, it's not. The Neutron AIO that I put in it blew up the first time I put power to it. I sent it back to Newbie Drone. They've been trying to get in touch with Neutron for help fixing it. Kelvin wants to fix it, but he needs Neutron to answer some questions for him, and they're not responding to him. So it's looking like Newbie Drone probably isn't going to sell Neutron stuff anymore, and it's looking like they're just going to refund me on that AIO that I got. So I will then have to buy another... Well, it depends. I guess... No, yeah, I'm going to have to get another Beta FPV. I've got... So these two have the Beta FPV 1S AIOs. This thing's been running for a while, and that Beta FPV 1S cross-style AIO has been completely fine. This one I haven't gotten up in the air yet, but it's got a fresh one. Hopefully it doesn't blow up as soon as I put power to it. This guy is in a regular old Meteor 65 frame, which has more clearance between the battery tray and where the AIO sits. Thank God, because I bought a Happy Model 1S Cross AIO, and for whatever reason, Happy Model used a much longer USB port. And thank God that this frame has that extra bit of clearance there, because on every other frame that I put this Happy Model Cross AIO in, the USB port was hanging out into the battery bay, so you couldn't put a battery in the damn thing. The Freestyle Walksnail 1S 75mm build is in a Mobula 7 1S V4 frame, and I don't think it has this extra amount of clearance. So I'm going to have to get the Beta FPV 1S AIO for that build. And I just haven't ordered it yet because I was hoping that Neutron AIO would come back to me fixed. But yeah, I don't necessarily want to buy another one of those Neutron builds, Neutron AIOs, and have it cook again. The Beta FPV AIO is what all the racers use, and they've had half decent luck, let's say, with them. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. Okay, so this guy is ready for tomorrow. Whoop lube time. Let me get caught up on chat real quick though. June Logo, if I've had, there's probably 20 or so live streams in the last 3 or 4 months where I have built, tested, upgraded, flown these 1S rigs. So yeah, go to my channel, click the little magnifying glass to search only in my channel, and just search for Walksnail, and there's shitloads of content. And they all, thanks to Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper and Quad Bod, they all have timestamps. So click into each one of them, and you'll have beautiful little timestamps so that you can pick exactly where I start building, testing, flying, whatever, the Walksnail rigs, and you can just start watching exactly there. Sam Stalder says, do you have a build recommendation page? I got the $45 Nanohawk from RDQ, and now I'm hooked on Whoops and want to build a proper freestyle rig. I don't have my own, but I have helped Joshua Bardwell a ton with his ultimate ultimate FPV shopping list. The sub 250 page and the Tiny Whoop page are my babies. I also have some stuff in the Toothpick page and in the Cinewhoop page and in the 5-inch freestyle page. But the Tiny Whoop page here, This is like all me, man. I mean, Joshua has written a little bit of this copy, but the majority of this copy and all of the selections are my own. So yeah, here comes the link to this page. These are all Joshua's affiliate links. So if you don't mind, before you check out on whatever websites, head over to CiottiFPV and see if I have an affiliate link to whatever that website is. Joshua has more affiliate links than I do because he's quite a bit more successful than I am. So if you're going to do an order at Race Day Quads, make sure that you use Joshua's affiliate link. But yeah, there's a bunch of other websites that I do have affiliate links for. And yeah, you're on my live stream, so I feel comfortable saying, hey, please use my affiliate link. If you forget and you use Joshua's, hey, at least you're using somebody's. I like that. But yeah, this is the page for you, man. Do me a favor and read. I've spent 40, 50 hours writing all of this stuff, and there are really, really, really important things buried within these little chunks of text that will help you out a ton and make sure that you don't buy the wrong thing and just make you a smarter, better human being in the FPV universe. So yeah, read this stuff. This is all gold, and I've really spent an unbelievable amount of time on these selections and on these chunks of text for each one of them. It's not just, this is an antenna that you should buy. Click now. It's like explaining the antennas, who they're a good choice for, who they're not a good choice for. And so, yeah. And yeah, on here, I've got a bunch of bind and fly suggestions, even though I don't really ever suggest bind and flies. Joshua wanted me to put a bunch of them on here, so we did that. The real magic, though, is the 65mm freestyle tiny whoop build. This is the best flying tiny whoop maybe ever. And then this is the full tilt race build. If you're going to get into racing, this is definitely what you want. And then the 75mm build. This is the jungle gym basher, as I call it. This is the outdoor whoop. Not like fly down the street and throw it up over trees. That's a toothpick. This is for smaller outdoor areas. Jungle gyms, gardens, stuff like that. Where it's bigger than inside, but it's not a 100-foot tall tree or even a 50-foot tall tree. That's not tiny whoop territory. That's toothpick territory. Tiny whoops, like they've got the ducts, so use the ducts. And when I say use the ducts, what I mean is hit shit. And like hitting the top of a tree, this is going to live in that tree forever. So from a standpoint of like getting the quad back, but also a standpoint of like the ducts slow this thing down. So why would you fly it in an area with massive amounts of space where you want to go faster? You want to fly this in smaller areas where the ducts slowing you down is going to accomplish something. Flying this down the street and throwing it over trees, the ducts are only doing negative things, right? Like, if you, like with a toothpick, if you slam that into a person that's walking up your street full tilt, they're just going to laugh and smile. I'm like, that's neat. What is that thing? And they're going to ask you funny questions. Like, the ducts are not making a rig any safer that already weighs like 60 grams, 70 grams, right? So, yeah, ducts should be used, if you're going to fly a ducted rig, fly the ducts for a reason. Don't fly them just because they happen to be there. There are plenty of other builds that are going to rail down the street and throw themselves up over a big old tree infinitely better than any tiny whoop ever will. Even if it's a 75 Pro with the slightly bigger propellers, or even if it's an 85mm rig that's going to blow up the first time you crash it because 85mm is too big for a plastic frame. Yeah, there's a right tool for every job, and so use the right tool for the right job, and you'll have a much better time. You'll have a much better experience, as the flight test fellas say. So, Whoop Lube. As I talked, so there's going to be a Christopher, thank you for the super chat. $4.20. The weed number, he says, just got Hummingbird V3, first acro FPV experience. Really good choice. The Hummingbird V3 I was blown away by. Technically speaking, these Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops do outperform them, but these are fairly customized builds. The Hummingbird V3, you just buy it, and it's just good to go. If you want to upgrade it, the 0702 29,000 kV motors are a great choice. That gets them even closer to these guys. Yeah, it's a really good frame. It's not without its problems. The OSD flickering issue is the biggest problem with all of the current newbie drone rigs. I really hope they figure out a way to fix that. But other than that, yeah, that's a great rig, man. You're gonna love that. Beat it up. The frame that it's gonna come in, well, I don't know what frame they come with, but if you break the frame that it comes with, get one of their new V3 frames, because I think they don't. I think they come with the older frame. Get one of these V3 frames, and it'll be even more durable. But yeah, I was blown away by that Hummingbird V3. I've got a bunch of live streams around it and upgrading it and all kinds of good stuff. So you can check that out if you want. But basically, the biggest upgrade is going to be getting it onto those 29 the newbie drone 0702 29,000 kV motors. That'll make the biggest difference. The motors it comes with are great. They're 802 25,000 kV. When you go to the 702 27,000 kVs, they're lighter because they're smaller. 702 versus 802, and they're more powerful because KV is everything on Tiny Whoops. 802s are actually a little bit too big of a motor. Thank you again for the super chat, brother. Sam Staller says, I knew you wrote that page, but I wasn't sure if it was kept up to date. Yeah, we look at it every 3 or 4 months to make sure that it's up to date. CMYK says, whoa, I fly my Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop outdoors only. I sent it over many hundred fit trees, LMAO. Yeah, that doesn't mean it's the right tool for the job, though, which CMYK knows. CMYK also says, what's up, Gangly Gang? Ramdonko says, inverse square law. Indeed. Sam Stalder says, okay, we're good. And Simon says, that small Tiny Whoop antenna on Joshua's page that you suggest, I have that, but I'm worried the outer is non-magnetic. I tested with a magnet and will short on the flight controller, or is it plastic? I don't know. That is an interesting question. I would keep it away from the PDB anyway. Put a bend in the antenna to stand it up so that it won't hit the PCB. If it is, there is a coating. It's the outer part is basically a PDB or a PCB rather. And there is a coating on it, so it should not be conductive. But yeah, put a bend in it and just get it up off the off your AIO, and you'll be fine. Simon with a £5 super chat. He says, because you always answer questions and help. Thank you very much, dude. It is my pleasure. Off Axis with a 20 Canadian Californian dollars super chat that says, thanks for being you. Thank you, brother, for allowing me to be me. Superlux says, it was a 107 job, so doesn't the FAA have jurisdiction? Only if it's outside. Indoors, the FAA can't say shit about shit. They do not control indoor airspace, 107 or not. I actually did not know that. I thought that all 107 operations, all off-axis is for your Hype Train Dime Fund. Thank you, dude. $30 goes up to $50. We're almost there, my friends. Thank you. Wait, no, it's Californian Canadian dollars. So they're not worth as much. So we're going to go 45. That'll keep the... You know, we've been doing like 15. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I very recently learned that on Joshua Bardwell's live stream, oddly enough, last week at some point. I just assumed that all commercial operations under Part 107 were tied into the FAA, which makes no sense whatsoever, right? Like, if the airspace inside of a building is not controlled by the FAA, why would me making money doing that have anything to do with it, right? Like, when he said that, I was like, wow, what? And then I just sat here, I'm like, well, yeah, of course. So yeah, and inside of a building, you don't even need your 107 because the FAA has nothing to do with it. You can do whatever the hell you want. So yeah, there's another reason to not get your 107. specialize in drone operations indoors. I am almost caught up on chat. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we'll dive into Whoop Lube. Simon says, oh, we got that. Simon says, Christopher R. Besson says, thank you for the recommendation. So tough, so fun from Rhode Island. You're welcome, brother. Beltran says, thanks to your ultimate freestyle build, I have learned a lot in terms of flying. I love that, dude. That's my favorite thing about Tiny Whoops is that you can just like you can just fly Tiny Whoops and become an amazing FPV pilot, and then start flying outside and you're like ripping. And like it pisses me off that people disagree with that because they're just wrong. There are people that like there is a gray area. Joshua actually falls in the gray area of like it's a better idea to start off with 5-inch rigs, which I don't agree with. I think that micros are the best bet to start off. I'm super biased because I started off with micros. He has some really good points. I also have some really good points. So I don't think there is a right answer. But hey, you're here with me, so my answer is going to be that Tiny Whoops and micros are the best to start with. Basically, the problem with micros and Tiny Whoops is that they're hard to work on. And people do quit this hobby because they get frustrated doing repairs and being able to work on stuff. So from that standpoint, 5-inch rigs are definitely a better starting point. I just worry about people getting hurt with 5-inch rigs or hurting someone else. And I just don't, part of it is I just don't want new people flying a fucking baby blending 600, 700, 800 gram death machine. I don't think that's good for any of us. Hopefully people have the common sense to go into a big ass field when they're new, but nobody has any common sense. Jesus Christ, there was just an asshole diving the Washington Monument. What a dick. Like, no, the common sense is long gone here in America, right? Like, we elected an orange Cheeto Nazi fucking God, TV host, one of the worst business people ever, right? We put him in charge of the country for 4 years. What, like, common sense 404 not fucking found, bro. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's all crazy. So I don't know. I always want new people flying safe, small stuff that they can get a ton of batteries in. They can fly it when it's raining, fly it in the cold, because they're in their house flying it. Is flying in the house really difficult? Absolutely. But hey, welcome to FPV. Everything is difficult. So you might as well make it difficult right off the bat. You got to have a stubbornness to survive in FPV. Nobody that's not super stubborn will survive. And so, yeah, let that stubbornness be with all things, the building and the flying. Whoop oiling your motors. I have had bearing lube in my workbench forever, long before FPV. I longboarded when I turned like 30. I had a mini third life crisis or whatever, and I picked up. I wasn't really allowed to skateboard growing up, and so yeah, I picked up longboarding and started doing downhill longboarding, freestyle longboarding kind of stuff. And bought this bottle of, I believe it's made by Oust. It's just bearing lube. It's just skateboard bearing lube. You can get this at any Zoomies in the mall, anywhere that has skateboard stuff. And I love this specific one because it comes with this super fine tipped needle point applicator. And that allows me to only put the oil exactly where I want it and none of it where I don't want it. So we are going to use this. The viscosity of this, you can kind of test viscosity by just going like this and seeing how quickly it moves around. Things that are, differences in viscosity will show up when you do this. And so this is pretty loose. This is pretty light, is what we could describe this as. And that seems to be what you want. Every single bearing oil I've ever gotten has been very light like this. So the Tiny Whoop motor oil is what they call it. is a very similar viscosity to this. Jesse sent me a bottle of it when it first came out, and it doesn't have this fancy little needlepoint applicator. Once I saw that it was roughly the same viscosity as this stuff, I put it into a giveaway and let one of you guys have it. But today, for the record, we are going to use this. I'm not going to use Jesse's specific stuff, but again, it's probably exactly the same as this. It's even the same color as this. So this is a Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop that is on the Newbie Drone Cockroach 65 V3 frame that I've pounded the living hell out of. These 702 motors have had more abuse than any other motor I have ever run, and they have held up unbelievably well. These are the Tiny Whoop 0702 32,000 kV motors. This is either a prototype set or like the very first set that came out, because I was just dying for higher kV motors, and Jesse and I were talking a lot back then. So yeah, he hooked me up really early, and these motors have been phenomenal. At this point, though, especially with all of this frame testing, they're tired. I'm going to fly them as they are right now. They have not had any oil put on them ever. And then we're going to oil them, and hopefully you will hear the difference, and hopefully I will feel the difference. We're also going to put this into Betaflight, fire the motors up, and take a look at the RPMs that the ESC is seeing. And I'm going to do that with a couple of different batteries. I'm going to put like a fresh battery on it each time I do that, basically before and after. And I'm going to make sure that the battery that I put on it is from the same run. I use colored metallic Sharpies to mark all of my batteries when I get them out of the box. These 3 batteries are blue markers, so these 3 came out of the same group. And that way, like, as I run batteries, like, so the blue markered batteries are the oldest ones that I have right now that I'm running. And then as there's also some green marker batteries. And now this is a gold marker battery. This is the newest. So I'm not going to use like one gold marker and then one blue marker battery. That would not be fair. I'm going to use a couple of blue marker batteries. I also want to check the voltage on each one of these. 4.36, 4.35. It was kind of moving around a little bit. 4.36. I mean, that's close enough, but I'll obviously use both of them that say 4.36. So let's get it into Betaflight first and see what kind of RPMs we pull in totally abused form. Props on. With the props off, it's going to spin to the highest possible. It's going to spin to the kV with the props off. When you put the props on and you load it down, now you're testing the motor a lot more accurately, because it's not just going to spin up to whatever the kV is. They test kV in an unloaded form with no props on. So I'm much more interested in the power that these things are going to make. Weebleed's in the house. What's up, Zotek? He says, great Band-Aid. Indeed it is. Over on Weebleed's website, they have these awesome little tin containers of Band-Aids. But the coolest thing is, once you use all the Band-Aids, the Tiny Whoop batteries fit perfect in here. And I'll bet you that this is plenty fireproof for the Tiny Whoop batteries. The Tiny Whoop batteries don't really shoot flames like bigger batteries do. They just put smoke out and heat. So yeah, that would be an excellent choice for a Tiny Whoop protective battery container. And I actually use one of them that Zotek sent me for exactly that. All right, plugging the battery in. Click it on the motors tab. I'm going to do this as quick as I can so the battery doesn't discharge at all. Here we go. And so you're going to be looking at these numbers here. This is the RPM. Understand the risks. Here we go. 60,000. 64,000. It cooled down to 60,000. 64,000. Motors 2 and 4 are hot. Let's check motor 3 one more time. 60,000. Although it's bouncing up to 60. So between 60 and 64,000, that is actually exactly what I would expect to see from these motors with the props on. 0702 32,000 kV motors. That is just what they produce. I've done this a lot, so I know what to what like the normal values are there. So that's actually pretty good. The main problem with these motors is they're just beat. They're just beat up, and the motor shafts are tired and worn and bent and shit. And that is what you're not going to be able to see that. I'm going to be able to feel that because I've flown these a lot. So this is going to be a little bit of a hard kind of thing to get it to come through the live stream. But, you know, I got no reason to lie. There's nobody paying me for this sponsored review. I don't get a kickback on the motor oil. You know, I've already said, like, in most cases, you shouldn't. I don't think that you should oil your motors. You should wait until they're on death's door and then use the oil as like a last-ditch effort to kind of bring them back to life. And this might be a situation where these motors are too far gone. I really like the motor oil when you have a set of motors that have gotten like really dirty, or maybe they took a bath in salt water and that chased all of the oil out or something like that. Basically, yeah, situations where oil kind of makes sense. And bent motor shafts are not a situation where oil really makes much sense. Ooh, that was just the sexiest shit ever. Ooh, oh, wow! It went in between here. I can't even do it. In case you were wondering whatsoever if I did that on purpose, yeah, definitely not on purpose, because I can barely do it at like 1 mile an hour, but it went through here at the end of that movement. That was cool. So yeah, we might not see anything here. Or we might see something. Oh. So, that I did do on purpose, for the record. This is also a rig, I can immediately tell that this is a rig that does not have crash prevention turned on. So I am going to re-enable crash prevention on this thing next time I put it in the Betaflight. But right now we are not... Well, that might have been crash prevention turning on right there. Let's just keep going, though. So this is also... Oh! I didn't think I was going to get it. But I got it, damn it. This is also part... Oh, fart. Yeah, this does not have crash prevention on. It would have helped me there. Oh! If I could have fucking kept that off the floor, that would have been sexy. This is our 6 batteries per day. So if you don't want to watch, you should be flying. Oh god, if you're just listening, get to flying, bro. Get your 6 batteries in. You can do it later. It's kind of early in the day. Damn. But for the purposes of this testing that we're doing, I fly loads of 32,000, 32,500, 30,000 kV, 702 tiny whoops, and this one at 32,500 kV, it does not make the power that it should. All right, right now the battery's just dead, though. I was about to say, right now it's really struggling, but yeah, the battery was shitting its pants. So, that is what it looks like with dry, old, banged up, beaten motors. Let me fly one more battery. Let me put one more battery through it. It's going to be a gold marker battery, so it'll have a little bit more power. Northern Tier, thank you very much for the $20 super chat. Let me just finish this thought, and then we'll talk about that. As well as AJ Fire, thank you for the 5. Much appreciated. Give me 1 second. Friends. Oh, What was I saying? Yeah, these motors are whooped though, and they really feel like it. I don't think I've had to turn the tune down. Let's take a look though. Yeah, see, I've still got the D gains and the P and I gains absolutely cranked. 1.8 and 1.5. That's really aggressive. So they're not shaking so bad that I've had to cripple the tune yet. I won't let motors get to that point. Like, I will replace motors before they get to that point. Oh, fart. But, man, they are getting there. Like, these motors are... They've had a hard life. Oh, my God. I got a little excited. Got a little excited there. As you do when you're flying the ultimate freestyle tiny whoops. Hey! Yeah! Oh, God! Get it out of the tree. I knew that tree was going to try to get me! Damn. Hey! So, yeah, I'm just really trying to get used to this. There is a little bit of jello. I don't know if that's going to come through the live stream, but there is a throttle value where it gets a little jello-y. You can kind of see, where can I go with lots of detail? All right, the Christmas tree is probably good for that. Yeah, there is a throttle value where it starts to get a little jello-y. That could also be the propellers. The propellers are pretty beat. But, yeah, like I said, these motor shafts are hurting. And that is basically when you're going to retire a set of motors. So, I don't know if the oil is going to help all that much, but we're going to try it anyway. Again, I recommend you do the oil when motors are about to die. And this is one of the reasons that motors die, right? They get, the motor shafts get all bent to hell. So I'm super curious if this will breathe a little bit of life back into these. I'm not flying terrible today. I got a bunch of sleep last night. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe I should sleep. A lot of times I don't. Not on purpose. Believe me, not on purpose. Oh! That was too cool. Hold on. One more quick. Impossible power loop hitting a snare drum rim shot. Not landing the trick, but... You know, there are more important things in life. Like snareboard rim shots. Snare drum rim shots. Snareboard. What the fuck? When I'm flying, and like concentrating on flying, weird things will come out of my mouth. Weird words. You sick bastards. Relax. Oh, come on. Hey! Oh. Alright, this battery's done. Alright, so. That is non-greased, banged up motors. Now we're going to move over. Now we're going to oil these guys up and see if the RPMs that they pull in Betaflight changes, and see if I can feel a difference in the air. But first, let me knock out these super chats from the beautiful AJ Farah in Northern Tier. AJ Farah with a $5 super chat. He says, best motors and props for 2S Mobula 7 with Happy Model X12 AIO. It depends. Mainly on the payload that you're carrying, AJ. But, I mean, even easier than that, it just depends on the all-up weight of the rig. The only experience that I have on 75mm motor-to-motor rigs on 2S is the tiny lifters. And they're picking up a 26-gram camera. So if you're not picking up a 26-gram payload, those motors might not be the right choice for you. That being said, they're kind of the only ones that I can really recommend, so it's tough. They are RC in power, 1002, 14,000 kV. That's probably going to be a good choice, even if you're not picking up a camera that's that heavy. But again, it really depends. It mainly depends on the all-up weight. You're gonna want to stay less than like 16,000 kV is what I can tell you. I don't know if an 802. I don't know what an 802 would be like on 2S. It might be too much for it, and it might get too hot, or it might be okay. So AJ says it's got happy model 9,000 right now, and it's sick. So yeah, like 14,000 kV is going to be a massive improvement in horsepower for you. If the all-up weight is lower, then you might be able to get away with an 802. If you're dragging around a big-ass camera like I am, though, I would not go smaller than 1002. 1002 seems to be like the bottom for picking up a big old amount of weight. The tiny lifters are 78 grams all up. So if you are anywhere near 78 grams all up, then 1002 14,000 kV RC and power, good to go. If you're significantly lighter than that, you might be able, like I said, you might be able to get away with an 802. I don't know. I've not tried that. I never really recommend 2S on tiny whoops unless you're picking up a big heavy camera. Just mainly because the 2S batteries are going to be super heavy. Because you've got two cells, right? Like, so the smallest MAH, which is like 300, you're going to have to carry two of those, which is like really, really heavy. On 1S, you can go from like 300 MAH to 350 MAH, and it's going to be infinitely lighter than a 2S 300, right? Because it's just the one pouch. So, yeah, that's kind of the situation there. Great question, dude. Northern Tier with a $20 super chat. He says, Season's greetings. What props did you use on the Newbie Drone 702 29,000 kV? Great question. Here's the one size fits all answer. 702 motors are not big enough for anything other than the Gemfan biblades. Luckily, the Gemfan biblades are the best tiny whoop props that exist. So you want to be running them on most of your rigs anyway. So yeah, 702s, Gemfan biblades, 802s or 603s, Gemfan or HQ tri-blades. Quad blades are all just too heavy. There's really no reason to run quads. That gets me caught up to some extent on the chat. Let's get some oil on these motors. And I'm actually going to do it over here, and I'm just going to use this guy. You're going to get to see the magic of this super fine tipped applicator here. What I like to do is, really what I should do is take the motors off, but in the interest of time, it's 6:50. All right, this is going to be a really quick end of this testing. Put the tip of the thing right in the gap of the C-clip, and then as little oil as you can. These motors are all bushings. These are not bearing motors. The tiny whoop most tiny whoop motors are bushings. It's not a bad thing. The bushings actually work extremely well. So yeah, just put the little tip in here. You want a nothing amount of oil in there because the oil is going to get flung out everywhere, and you want as little of it to get flung out everywhere as possible. So just put the tiniest little amount, and then on the top, you can kind of go at an angle here through the holes. Again, I should be taking the props off to do this, but I don't really have the time. So just go at an angle. You can hit the bushing. Just put the tiniest little bit. Like basically when I'm bringing this closer, the little fine tip applicator, I can see like a little bit of oil starting to well up. That's enough. You don't really need to squeeze the bottle. Enough of the oil will just appear at the little nozzle, and then just touch that to where you want it to go, and that's enough. And then it's just gonna spread itself around in there. It's gonna get flung everywhere. With bearings, bearings are sealed, so that is one of the reasons that all of these bearing greases are so light and thin. because they're sealed bearings, there is a tiny little gap, and so you gotta have it be really thin to get into that gap and then into the motor. Is this battery charged? Here we go. Jesus, I can't believe how late it is already. I have to go as soon as 7 o'clock hits. So here we go. I only spilled a little bit on the desk. First thing we're going to do is fire up Betaflight, take a look at the RPM that this thing pulls. I'm going to spin the motors slowly at first to just kind of like work the grease in, and then we're going to go for it. And we might even be able to see some of the oil get flung out when I fire these things up to full beans. All right, so this is another blue marker battery. Here we go. And understand the risks. So I am just going to slowly kind of wind these up just to kind of work the grease in a little bit and hopefully not fling it everywhere immediately. It's about as worked in as it's going to get at this point. 60,000. 64,000. Oh boy. 60,000. 64,000. So no real difference in here. Not surprising. Unfortunately, that kind of means that I'm not going to feel much of a difference in the air, I think. But you never know. My hand is now covered in oil. It definitely flung some of the oil out. It's not that bad though. Like, I'm looking at it. Like, I've had it where I've added too much oil and it's just like everything is coated. This isn't that bad. I think I just didn't put too much in this time. But technically speaking, oil will, and as you run these more and more oil will seep out and kind of get everywhere. You'll see what I mean. You'll do this. You'll do this someday. And yeah, it's kind of annoying. I've done this many times, and it always just kind of becomes an annoying thing of the oil getting all over the damn place. Which, again, is one of the main reasons that I recommend you only do it when the motors are kind of on their way out and as like a last-ditch sort of effort to get a little bit of extra life out of them. So let's see. Let's see if that worked in this case. Again, there are scenarios where instead of just like abuse, the bushings or bearings get very dry. They get dried out or really dirty, or you have to put, like, if they get what used to happen to me with 5-inch motors is like they would get really, really dirty, and then I would clean them with isopropyl, and that would like chase some of the grease out. Or in a really nasty scenario, you have to clean them with acetone, and that really also chases the grease out. And then you'll hear it. Like, you'll spin them up and they'll just sound dry. And now that's when you want to oil them. Motors that are working fine, I really don't recommend that you oil. Oh! I had that all lined up, too. I was ready to go. I actually think that this might be... I mean, look. Adding... Like, these motors are old, so, like, the bushings are dry, and even though, like, the main problem is the motor shafts being bent, adding oil is going to reduce... Oh, I got by the Charlie Brown tree again. Adding oil is going to reduce the rotating resistance. So, in most cases, other than, like, the motors being brand new and fresh, in most cases, I think this is actually going to help for a little while. While this is clean, before it starts to attract dirt, this should make the situation better. And I think I am feeling that right now. So I guess also, like, if you don't care about replacing tiny whoop motors, you go ahead and oil them. Because the only real negative is that it's going to attract the dirt and potentially shorten their lifespan. But yeah, if you're stacked up on motors and you're replacing them all the time, who cares? I almost feel like they maybe sound a little bit better too. They should just quiet down a little bit. This just feels more normal. This thing before, when I was flying it, if you were watching the other night, you will have noticed this. Like, back to back it with the other two rigs that we were doing the frame testing on, this just felt weak. And oh god, I almost hit myself in the face. Shut my eyes for that one. Yeah, this just feels a lot less weak right now. This battery though is very dead. 658, one more battery real quick, just to kind of confirm it. It's going to be a gold marker battery. And here we go. I am kind of shocked that this made as much of a difference. I thought all the problems were from the banged up, beat up motor shafts. Shit, this battery's dead. Why is this battery dead? How did it make its way back there? But yeah, this... And I think it's just these motors are old. They you know, any amount of yeah, they're just old. Old motors. Old motors are going to benefit from the oil way more than fresh motors. And old motors are, you know, you're probably going to be replacing at some point anyway, so you might as well just let her rip. Michael D says, I take my motors apart and clean them out, oil them. Pet hair likes to find its way inside the bell. That it does. Northern Tier says, I figured. Thanks, dude. You're welcome. IB says, can I hear about your airsoft days? I myself used to be into the hobby heavily. Come back to any other live stream and ask me that. I'll give you a 10-minute history on airsoft. It was up in like the early 2000s in New Jersey. There was the biggest team up in the area that I think is still around. Are called Green Mountain Rangers from up in... they were up in Massachusetts, I believe. And we used to skirmish with them all the time, practice with them, and it was a blast. I ran a custom gun shop, too. Built a lot of really hopped-up airsoft guns back in the day. I'm sure I'm on a list somewhere. Used to do orders from Wargame Club, Den Trinity, a bunch of other places. Big orders. Like, well, yeah, I mean, you had to do big orders. What the fuck is going on with this? Come on, man. What are you doing? Live! Why? Come on, man. Don't you know I gotta go? Oh, God, why? Oh, God, Teddy, I didn't expect that. No, look out, buddy. Yep, almost done. Okay. Come on. Teddy, move, buddy, move! Teddy, move! Okay, I don't care. Oh, God!
Shit. Here he comes.
The last couple of seconds are just a Teddy abuse fest. Here we go. Look at him squeaking his little head down there. Oh, come on. Okay. Come on! Turn him on over, you bastard! There he is. Ah! He got me! He almost got me. Oh, God. Look out, buddy. Look out. All right, come on, battery, die! No! It's not going to die if I keep crashing, for Christ's sakes. Oh, no! Come on, there he is. Teddy, no. Look out. Look out, buddy. No, look out. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This feels way more normal than it did. It feels way more 32,000 kV than it did before the oil. So, yeah, old beat-up motors, oil them, brothers. Get you some Tiny Whoop motor oil and lube them up, and you'll be good to go. You'll breathe a little bit of extra life back into your murders. What do you think of that? Christopher R. Besson for the $4.20 weed number super chat. He says, for flying while talking. It's hard. It's hard to do. Thanks for hanging out, my friends. I love every single one of you. I know I missed some chat comments. Come on back Sunday at 3 o'clock or Monday night at 10 o'clock and ask me your question, and I'll talk all about it. Love you. Bye-bye. Here comes some more flying from the other night. Be good. See you Sunday. Have an amazing weekend. See you later. Please work. Please work. Please. Here we go. There it is. And music. Come on. Come on. I better understand. Come on. Come on. Come on.